Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a big question we have to face here. Where and how do we find a sense of peace and calm amid all the chaos that we face every day in the world? And it's not just here in the United States. This is a worldwide issue. And over the past 2.5 years, our stress levels in almost every area of life have been completely off the charts. We are in constant overload mode. So what's stressing you out? Think about this. Does any of this sound familiar? You have a relentless high stress job. You're constant pressure to do more with less. You're constantly fatigued. You're frustrated. Now you're getting angry. You can't relax. You're not sleeping well. Your sex life is non-existent. You're increased strain in your personal relationships. Any of that sound familiar? Now be honest. We're all there. We've all experienced this over the last 2.5 years. Well, this constant state of stress is impacting our physical, mental, and emotional well-being. The standard health care is take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning. It doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for a long time. Enough is enough. It's time to take control of our own wellness. But how are we going to do this? Now, my associates and I are putting together a plan for a series of wellness centers, and we'll provide the integration of traditional energy and alternative wellness. One of my associates is here today. This is Monica Owen. Now, she's somebody that you need to know. She holds a bachelor's degree in nursing science from Grand Canyon University in Arizona. She worked for years in the cardiac and ICU before retiring from nursing. Now, you think that would be enough, but she goes on. Today, she's an advanced accredited practitioner of EFT International. She's an accredited certified trainer at EFT International. She's a certified relationship coach with EFT. She's a certified EFT relationship specialist in couples and in dating. She is a certified matrix re-imprinting practitioner. And she's going to be one of the leaders in our new program as we get it moving. So Monica, welcome to Energy Healing and Integrative Wellness.
Thank you, Frank. I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for having me today.
This Monica and I have been in conversation over the past couple of months, and we're really excited to start moving forward. Now, Monica, you were a cardiac and an ICU nurse for a long time, and that's a very high stress world. I was a medic in the military. How did you discover tapping? That seems to be way over to the other side.
You know, it is way over to the other side. And I have to say, I even became a nursing instructor for Grand Canyon University at the end of my nursing career. And not once was EFT even mentioned in mainstream medicine. So it wasn't even anything I knew. But my parents had actually passed away, and they passed away 6 months apart. And so I was going through that grief process that we all go through when that happens. And I was kind of stuck, and I wasn't able to really move through that grief. And so I actually go to a holistic doctor, and he had said, I was kind of stuck. And he said, Monica, I think you need to go across the hall, and I think you need to work with my EFT practitioner. And I didn't even know what that was. But I was kind of at the point where I would just I trusted him implicitly. I'd gone to him for years, and he's holistic, does natural approaches. And so I did it. And I will say, I bought a few sessions from this practitioner. And even though I didn't know what she was doing, and we were tapping on these points, and I just followed what she was doing, and I couldn't look at pictures of my dad. And so I took them all down in my house, and it was really affecting my family and my relationship with my husband. And after a few sessions with her, I was able to get unstuck, and I could put those pictures out again. And it really changed my life. And I was like, what is this thing that I could feel calm and peace, and I could look at those pictures of my parents, and I could talk about them, and I wasn't a sobbing mess. And, I could, resume my relationship with my husband. What is this thing? And I just was like, this is amazing. And so then I started practicing it. The person taught me, and I was practicing it. And then a couple years went by, and the doctor said, hey, this practitioner is now moving to China, and I think you'd be really great at this. And I was still teaching nursing at the time. And I said, let me talk to my husband, pray about it, see what happens. And my husband said, go for it. I said, great. So then it became okay, now what do I do? Do I read a book? Do I, watch a 2-hour class online? What do I do? And so for me as a nurse, especially being a nursing instructor, I really wanted the more clinical EFT, the research. What was the research? What did the research say? And so I found, EFT International, and I found a trainer, Craig and Alina, that I went through, and I became certified as an EFT practitioner. And that really changed my life, just to be able to become a practitioner. I've worked with hundreds of people over the years using EFT, and it's just been a huge blessing in my life. Huge blessing. Yeah.
That is quite a story. Monica, you have, as we read to the audience here, you have several credentials. Now, there's many misconceptions when you talk to people about EFT and tapping, and people who claim that they're practitioners. So what is a certified practitioner?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a certified practitioner is really somebody that's gone through extensive training and mentoring. And this is a process that's done by an accredited certified EFT trainer. And it really is in 2 parts. So the first part is when they know they're ready to learn and they want to know more about EFT. That's where I was at after I'd gone through the tapping process with working on my parents and the grief, and really going through a level 1-2 course. So there's a level 1 and a 2, and it's a course. And so that's the first place that they start. And each of those courses is about 12 hours, and it can either be done online, and some people offer in-person trainings as well. And so when they do that first part, they're going to get a certificate of attendance. And so they're going to be able to work on their own personal self to use EFT. And EFT actually stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, plural. So there's many techniques. So they're all done in that level 1-2 class, and we teach you all the techniques. You get to practice with one another in class. So it's a really interactive process. It's a wonderful thing. And then for people that really want to take it that step further and work with other people to be able to help other people and get paid to do it as a career, we recommend certification. And so what that looks like is they work with a trainer, and like myself, who's also a mentor, and we work with them. And it's usually, the certification process is about 6 months to a year. Most people do it in that time frame. Some people take 2 years, and that's fine. But a lot of people can get it done in 6 to 12 months. And what's great about that is at the end of that time, Frank, you really feel that, I feel skilled. I'm trauma informed, because that's the thing about EFT is we want to make sure that somebody's safe, so that when they work with people and those traumas come up, what do I do? So just taking the level 1-2 class doesn't really go into the deep, doesn't take a deep dive, right? We don't really have the time to take that deep dive, right? And so they're just learning the techniques and like how that looks. But we really go into, in certification, we really go into depth and really help that person develop that confidence. And how do we be safe? How do we be safe in the session? And how do we use EFT confidently with ourselves and others? And so that's what certification looks like. It's different than just, like reading a book. I would not want my nurse to be giving me IV meds that just read a book about nursing, right? I want to know that, what did they do? What is their training? I want to make sure that that is the case. I couldn't go work at the hospital if I didn't have that training. And the same thing is kind of true for EFT.
Well, it's good to know, because there's a whole bunch of people who said, well, I watched the video.
Right.
Well,
right.
You can do it for yourself. And if it helps you, that's wonderful. But we got to be careful here, because people come to you for some pretty serious stuff.
Yeah.
When you talked with me before, you said that there were 5, the big 5. What are the big 5 reasons that people come to see you and come to see EFT people?
Yeah. Well, EFT actually, like I said, it stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. And it's really a practical self-help method, but it's your mind and body. And it combines gentle touch. So we're tapping on these calming points that we're born with that are in our body. But we also have mindful attention to our thoughts and feelings, right? And so when clients come to me, it's really under this umbrella of stress relief. And so in these 5 big areas, which is money, health, work, relationships, or spirituality. So that's what I call the big 5. So almost everything can go into one of those big 5 areas. And so when they come to me, they don't say, hey, I'm going to come and I'd like to work on the big five. What they come and they say is, you know what? I'm having all this stress in my job. I just can't. I'm having all these problems with my boss. And every time I go into work, I'm so stressed out. I just don't even want to be there anymore. I hate my job and it's causing me such stress. And that's why they come to me. Or maybe they were in a car accident recently, and so they're afraid to drive. And every time they get in the car, they're so stressed out. And maybe it's gotten to the point that I've got to take Uber or somebody else has got to drive me. So they just want to be able to reduce that fear, to be able to drive again. Or maybe they're having a relationship issues like their marriage. You know, they're having issues with their marriage and they would like to work through some of that so that they can reconnect with their partner again. And so, you know, I work with an amazing doctor here in Arizona, and he will work with the physical issues, right? But when it comes to the emotional issues, he will refer his patients to me so that we can get to the root of those emotional issues and kind of go from there.
That's very interesting, because some of the times that you'll hear, well, let's just do the energy medicine. We don't need the allopathic medicine anymore. But that's not the case. You do need the doctor.
Absolutely.
And then that collaboration is what we're trying to put together in these wellness centers.
Absolutely.
These are not one-time sessions, Monica. These are things that you're trying to get to the root cause. So you work with somebody in the moment, but then how do you then move from, I'm past that initial stress to try to get to the root cause of the issue?
Right. I always say the reason that people come to me, I always say the thing is not the thing. So what they're coming to me for, right? So what they're coming to me for is not really what it's about. So what they're coming to me for is maybe this situation with, I'll give you an example with my husband. I had said, hey, could you move the cup to the other side of the sink? We just moved. And so he was upset about, you know, I'm telling him what to do, and working with his EFT practitioner about that, who's not me, working about that. But it actually went back to previous relationship before we were married years and years ago. And then it actually went back to even further through his sisters bossing him around all the time. And once he cleared that out, then me saying something about what's happening in our current relationship wasn't an issue anymore. So the thing wasn't really the thing. It wasn't about the cup and the sink. It really was about what had happened in those earlier relationships. And so that's when they got to the root and got that out, that's what it was about. And so when I work with clients and they come to me, I really start with, how is this impacting you now? And also, what would you like to see different? So once we do that, and also kind of making sure that we identify that they're in my scope of practice. Because as an EFT practitioner, right, I'm not a licensed mental health care professional. And so if somebody says, I've come to you because I'd like to get off all my medications, right, then I'm going to refer them back to their doctor. I'm going to refer them to a psychiatrist, a psychologist, somebody that they can work with that would be in their scope of practice. But once we've identified that, yes, this is an emotional issue that we're going to be working on, then we are going to see, what would you like to do at the end of 10 sessions, at the end of 6 sessions? How would you like to see this different, right? And then we're going to start working together with how it's affecting them in this moment. And I'm going to be teaching them EFT techniques. Remember, there's many. I'm going to teach them those techniques that they can use on their own. So when something happens, when it shows up outside of our sessions, I'm going to show them how that looks. And so one example that was really amazing to me is it was about 1.5 years ago now. I got a call from church saying that my husband was unconscious and they'd called 911. And so I got to the church. Now, mind you, I was tapping the entire way in the car. I got to the church, the paramedics, everybody was working on him. And I started tapping. So I went up to the paramedics and I was just tapping the whole time. Okay, tell me what's going on. And so, because when we get triggered, we flip our lid emotionally, right? We flip our lid, and what's happening is emotional brain's online, right? The blood flows left the building. We can't think. We're just reacting. And so because I tap every day, because I teach people how to tap, I knew that I needed to tap. So I was able to advocate, call the liver transplant team, tell them what's going on, tell them they had a person coming in, because this was during the lockdown and I wasn't able to go. So I tapped the entire time while I gave the meds, while I told what's going on, while I talked to the transplant team, got them ready. and they took off, and I was not, I was able to stay thinking and able to do what I needed to do and advocate for my husband. And so that is why we teach people how to use these techniques on their own. And so that's a real world example of how to use it in an emergency, and how it really, I was calm afterwards when I had to call, security forces in the Air Force and tell him he wasn't going to be there the next day and what's going on, and talk to the people there in the Air Force. And they're like, how are you so calm? Well, I was still tapping. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to be thinking, and I was able to do that. And so that's the blessing of being able to teach that to my clients, and to teach them how to really use that in real world situations, and how they can be self-empowered to know how to use these techniques.
That's an amazing story. At one point in my life, I was a mentor with the Veteran Treatment Court, which is a veterans who have committed a crime, but it's not a heinous crime. Like they did something stupid, drunk driving, or got in a fight or something stupid, right? And a lot of them, particularly the latest wave, all have PTSD. They all do.
Yes.
Okay. And I used to see them doing that. We would be going to court, and I was wondering, what are you doing? And that's the first time I'd ever heard of this. And the calming factor is so important.
Yeah, it is.
Once you hit a trigger, is there like a time frame where you want to get under control once a trigger hits?
Well, I think that, if tapping is what we do, and I teach my clients that to make a tapping, like to have a plan, like what is your tapping plan? And so we really come up with, what would you like that to be? And if tapping becomes part of what we do every day to calm our body, right? And there's a lot of research that Dr. Stapleton's done on how the relationship with cortisol. And so with just an hour of tapping, how the latest research lowers it like 42, 43%. So when that cortisol goes down, that DHEA, which is our calming brain hormone, they have an inverse relationship, right? So we feel calmer. And so that's amazing research that's coming out about EFT. And so to be able to be calm and to have a plan. So if somebody knows how to tap, to be able to be calm in the moment helps them bring that blood flow that leaves when we get triggered or we get stressed, the blood flow, to be able to be tapping and bring that blood flow back so that we can be able to think and be able to react calmly and to be present in that moment is really what we're trying to achieve when we're tapping.
So it seems that it's a practice. It's not I'm stressed out, so I'm going to do it today, and then 3 months from now I'm stressed again, so I'll do it then. It's an ongoing lifestyle inclusion. Is that right? Is that the best way?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now you can do it that other way too. So if I'm stressed out and I know tapping, then I can do that. But to be able to be, I thought I was a really calm person. And after I had done tapping, and I do it every day, after I'd done it every day, for at least a year, and my friend said, wow, you are really calm. I'm like, I thought I was already calm. But just being able to practice it and having it, be able to use it when something happens is really, really where it's at.
I love that, because it's, I hear so many people, they go to it at crisis time. I mean, as you said, it works in crisis time, but if you incorporate that daily, maybe the crisis doesn't become a crisis.
Right. Or maybe like with my husband, it was a crisis, but I could still do my part and advocate what I needed to do and get him to the hospital, get him to the Mayo Clinic rather than the closest hospital, right? I was able to advocate because I was tapping, and I also didn't care if I looked stupid tapping on all the points when I'm talking to, like I didn't care. Actually, one of the paramedics said, or one of the firefighters said, oh, you do tapping. So they were familiar with it, right?
Absolutely. When we spoke a while back, you told me that, and I love the statement, you said the best thing about tapping EFT is it's fast and it goes deep. And the worst thing about EFT is it's fast and it goes deep. Okay, it's like a double-edged sword. And then you said you advise people at times not to do it. What would some of those times be?
Yeah. And so most techniques, they can be done on their own. And so once you know how to do it, but there are parameters for safety. And so what we don't advise is we don't advise you using EFT for any times in your life where there was a life-threatening situation. So like if the sirens go off and you were in a tornado, or you were involved in a car accident, or you had to go under anesthesia and you had a surgical procedure, anytime, abuse situations, any PTSD, I was in the war, any of those situations where you felt there was imminent harm that came towards you, right? Because when we're tapping, yes, it does go deep, but if we're tapping by ourselves, it's hard to keep that distance. We become that trauma. We go back to right when it happened, right that time we experience those same emotions, those same neurotransmitters are mixed up in our brain, and we feel just like when it was happening. And so what that EFT practitioner does is we keep them distant, right? We keep them distant. We keep them focused here on the moment, here in the here and now, keeping their eyes open, keeping them here now. And we use our calming presence, our tone of voice, all those trauma-informed techniques that we do, making sure that they don't go too far too fast. Because the tendency when we're in a trauma is that trauma pull. I got to tell you the whole story and I got to go really fast and tell you the whole story. And so when we're working on ourselves, it's just not safe. And we can actually do ourselves harm to try to tap because we can't keep that distance, because we can't change. We can't keep ourselves from the trauma and then where we are right now. And the lines get really blurred.
So the ideal is to separate, as you said in the beginning, how's this impacting you now?
Yeah.
And where do we want to go with this, as opposed to I'm in the middle of it right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's incredible. Well, Monica, this has been incredibly enlightening. How can people reach you?
Yeah. So I have 2 websites. So if you want to work personally, if you're looking at what can I do for myself, maybe I just am interested about EFT. My website is EFT Phoenix, PHOENIX.com. So EFTPhoenix.com. And what's really great on that website, especially if you know nothing about EFT, is there is a video that I love that was produced, The Science Behind Tapping. And so you can look at that 4-minute video that really shows the science behind tapping. And I love, you can see the fMRI changes before and after EFT. It's amazing. And so you can just get a look at that and then ask me questions. If you have some questions, you can book a free 20-minute consult and just sign up for that on my site. If you know that, you know what, I'm really looking at taking it to the next level and making some money, or maybe I just want to take the class to learn all the techniques for myself, my new website is EFTTappingSchool.com. And that has all of the online trainings already that for the rest of the year. And I'm actually doing a live training here in Phoenix in November. So if somebody's looking to do a live training, there's going to be one here in Phoenix in November.
Wow. Now you are going to be in EFT International, the leader of the training certification program. Is that correct?
It's actually the Training Accreditation Board. So within EFT, so EFT International is actually the world's leader in EFT. And it is an amazing organization. It's a volunteer organization. And so I'm part of the Training Accreditation Board. And really, I just have a passion for training. And so I just really love to be with this organization that really is looking to bring EFT. We're an international organization, so we're in all different countries. And so that's really great to work with people doing EFT across the airwaves. So when you become certified as an EFT practitioner, you can work. I have clients in Scotland, Ireland, Africa, Australia. So you can really work with people all over the world. So that's really a great thing.
And that's a very powerful organization. And that's a major position to make sure that you're keeping a set of standards at a very, very high level.
Right.
That's outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to go to those websites, particularly the EFTPhoenix.com, and watch that video. I did that, and it's amazing. You can see, you actually see it happening. It's incredible, just incredible.
Yeah.
Monica, we're just about out of time for this session. What last words, what last thoughts do you want to leave with the viewers around the world today?
Yeah, I really think that each person should have a tool in their tool belt that they can use to help themselves lower their stress level, especially in today's world. So if you have not heard about EFT before, I would really encourage you to look into EFT as an option for your own personal stress reduction. Yeah.
Standing. Well, as I said, we're just about out of time. I want to thank my guest, Monica Owen, for letting us know that there is hope and that people like her can help us address this overwhelming stress and anxiety and the frustration that we're all facing on a day-to-day basis, it appears. Now, when life seems to give you these unsurmountable obstacles in your path, do three things. And Monica's already mentioned these. Look up, get up, and never, ever give up. Pick up the pieces, start moving forward. Better times, better people like Monica will come into your life. Now, you can see this on my ROKU TV station or my YouTube channel, which is Frank Zaccari. If you go to YouTube, please subscribe. Now, let me leave you with this as I do every week. None of us are in this alone. And the secret to walking on water is to know where the rocks are. And today, Monica showed us where many of those rocks are. Join us next week for another episode in energy healing and alternative medicine. Thank you again, Monica.
Thank you.